You are now listening to Mark's Unexplained World by Mark the Medium. Available on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Podbean and most other podcast platforms. Tonight's episode is about the death of Naya Rivera. So it's over to you now, Mark.
Naya Marie Rivera was a 33-year-old American actress, singer and model who was recognised for her work on the popular musical comedy drama series called Glee, a firm favourite with teens at the time. She starred in the series from 2009 to 2015 and received various awards that included a Screen Actors Guild Award and nominations for 2 other Grammys. Besides performing on stage and television, Naya Rivera championed various charitable causes, particularly for the LGBT rights, along with immigrants' rights and women's rights, and she even spoke out against racism, especially in the entertainment business. Naya Rivera's personal life garnered significant press and media attention throughout her career, and in 2016 she published a memoir titled Sorry Not Sorry, Dreams, Mistakes and Growing Up. However, on the 8th of July 2020, the American actress and singer was declared missing after she failed to return home from a boating excursion with her 4-year-old son, Josey Dorsey, on Lake Piru, near her home in California. Shortly after being declared missing, her rented boat with young Josey Dorsey still on board was located on Lake Piru, with the 4-year-old being found completely unharmed. And although Naya Rivera was formally presumed dead, shortly after finding her 4-year-old son, the search continued until the morning of the 13th of July 2020, when her body was eventually recovered, with the cause of her death being pronounced as accidental drowning. And as a result, Naya Rivera's ex-husband, Ryan Dorsey, brought a wrongful death lawsuit against Ventura County and the management of Lake Piru. Greetings, Unexplainers. Thank you for tuning in once again and listening to this unsolved mystery episode of Mark's Unexplained World. My name is Mark Hughes. I'm a psychic medium, a ufologist and a true crime buff. And just to give you a better idea of who I am and what I do, every Monday night, though occasionally on a Tuesday, allowing for bank holidays and busy weekends, I do a podcast on the many wide and various subjects that fall under the unexplained banner. These include ufology, hauntings, disasters, and all sorts of paranormal phenomena, including true crime, unsolved crime, and the many missing people that often go unnoticed. So, if you are listening to this show on YouTube, please give us a review and a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you are listening on any of the other podcast platforms, again, give us a like and a follow. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about the story surrounding the death of Naya Rivera. And this week's necessary disclaimer. This story is a tale that sadly involves people disappearing and dying through various acts of misadventure, so may prove upsetting to some. You listen at your own discretion. Also, all opinions and comments are strictly my own, but the facts of the case still remain. I also apologise if I pronounce anything incorrectly. My English, although it is my first and only language, I have never had any issues pronouncing the word anti-establishmentarianism. But yeah, you're quite right. I'm just showing off. So, let's get back to the story. Unexplainers. Just to give you fair warning, in part 1 of this podcast, I'm going to mainly concentrate on some of Naya's personal life and career choices, and in part 2, I will look at her disappearance, death, and the circumstances which surround it. So, let's start with, who is Naya Rivera? Well, as I mentioned in my introduction, Naya Marie Rivera was a 33-year-old American actress, singer and model who was recognised mainly for her work on the popular American musical comedy drama series called Glee. She was born on the 12th of January 1987 as an African-American with German and Puerto Rican descent and raised in Valencia, California, but she lived in or around Los Angeles for most of her life. Her mother, named Yolanda Pratraviri, I think that's right, is a real estate agent and former model, while her father, named George Rivera, worked in various IT jobs, including positions at Walt Disney and Universal Music. Naya Rivera's parents had married in 1986, but 10 years later, in 1996, they subsequently divorced. Her maternal grandmother was a lady named Clara White, who was an abortion counsellor and a major figure in the civil rights movement. She was also involved in various marches, including the 1963 March on Washington, the 1965 Selma to Montgomery marches, and the 1968 Chicago riots. Naya Rivera was the eldest of 3 children in the family, with her younger brother, Mikel Rivera, being a former American professional footballer with the National Football League, or the NFL for short, and her younger sister, called Nikayla Rivera, being a top model. During the time her parents, Yolanda and George Rivera, were married, the family's income would fluctuate dramatically. Sometimes the family would be living lavishly, and at other times they would be struggling. When things were very tight financially, Naya Rivera, having a big heart, approved the use of some of the money she had earned as a child from doing television commercials at the age of 4. That was set aside for her in her Coogan account. On a very interesting note, a Coogan account, or the California Child Actors Bill, is a law applicable to child performers designed to safeguard a portion of their earnings for when they reach the age of maturity and protect them from exploitation and abuse. The family did own a boat and often went boating when Naya Rivera was a child, and she still enjoyed boating as an adult, so took many trips to Lake Piru in California, which was near her home and an area which she considered a sanctuary. Naya Rivera was a big fan of Michael Jackson from a young age, and as a child actress on the audition circuit, ended up becoming friends with one of Michael Jackson's nieces. She even ended up visiting the Neverland Ranch, not once but twice, although Michael Jackson was never present at the time. She attended the Valencia High School in Santa Clarita and graduated in 2005. Her mother, Yolanda Rivera, had convinced her to join the choir in her freshman year, but she quit after just a few weeks because she felt she was constantly overlooked for one of her classmates, a girl named Nazanin Mandi. Nazanin Eliza Mandigahomi was known professionally as Nazanin Mandi, is now an American actress, singer, model and life coach who, back in 2018, became a brand ambassador for the fashion retailer Pretty Little Thing. During her teenage years, Naya Rivera suffered with anorexia nervosa, which is something she didn't really talk about until she reached adulthood. In 2019, Naya Rivera described her high school experience as terrible, indicating at times that part of this was because of her own attitude towards her education, compared to her career as an actress and model, racism, and the lack of coffee. Well, I certainly get the coffee thing. In her professional life, Naya Rivera first appeared in commercials for the department store chain called Kmart as a baby. But her first significant acting job was in 1991, when, at the tender age of just 4 years old, she appeared as Hilary Winston on the CBS sitcom The Royal Family. And as a child and teen actor between the years of 1992 and 2002, Naya Rivera was part of the golden age of black sitcoms and had roles in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, The Jersey, Live Shot, Baywatch, Smart Guy, Houseblend, Even Stevens and The Master of Disguise. As she got older, she was featured in episodes of the noughties sitcom 8 Simple Rules with the late John Ritter, and landed a part in the crime drama franchise CSI Miami. However, her big break came when, in 2009, she landed the part as Santana Lopez, a high school cheerleader on Fox's musical comedy series Glee, which was basically about a high school glee club. To make this character of Santana Lopez more believable, Naya Rivera said that she drew on her own high school experiences of unpopularity to prepare for the role, that and watch films like Mean Girls too, and I quote,
"Really get in the zone and feel like a bitchy sophomore."
Naya Rivera described her character Santana Lopez as, and I quote,
"A bit of a bad girl,"
and saying that she enjoyed playing the character because she, and again I quote,
"always has these really witty one-liners she throws out there."
During her career, Naya Rivera appeared on the covers of several magazines, including Cosmopolitan, Maxim, Rolling Stone, FHM, Complex, Glow, Prestige, The Hollywood Reporter, Cosmo for Latinas, Latina, Fit Pregnancy, Baby Galore, the list goes on. She also ranked highly on various magazines' most attractive lists. For example, she made the Maxim Hot 100 list in 2010, 11 and 12, and for 2 years in 2011 and 2012, she was ranked at number 1 on AfterEllen.com's Hot 100 list. And in 2012, she was selected by People en Español magazine for the 50 most beautiful list. And in the same year, she was listed on FHM's 100 sexiest women list, coming in at number 39. After this first short break, in part 2, we will look at the area that is Lake Piru, and, as promised at the beginning of part 1, Naya Rivera's disappearance and the unfortunate circumstances surrounding it.
This show is brought to you courtesy of Neil Packer and the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre. Find them online at www.hauntedresearchcentre.com or at 9 to 11 Regent Street, Hinckley, LE10 1AW. Open on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for guided tours of the haunted rooms at just £3 per person. Booking is essential at all times, and over 16s only, please, unless accompanied by an adult. The haunted rooms are extremely haunted, and paranormal activity could, and has, taken place at any time. Some areas and particular objects or items can be quite scary and unnerving. Membership is available for £25 to qualify for selective offers. And why not download the app, available on both iOS and Android, for only $3.99, to keep up to date with what is coming up at the centre.
According to Wikipedia, Lake Piru is a reservoir located in the Los Padres National Forest and the Topa Topa Mountains of Ventura County in California, created by the construction in 1955 of the Santa Felicia Dam on Piru Creek, which is a tributary of the Santa Clara River. And just to give you a few figures regarding the size of the area itself, the elevation of the reservoir is 1,043 feet, or 318 metres, and the elevation of the dam spillway is 1,055 feet, or 322 metres. The dam itself was formed on the 5th of December 1950 under the Water Conservation Act of 1931 and owned and operated by the United Water Conservation District. United Water Conservation District, based in nearby Santa Paulo in California. Got there in the end. The district itself is a multi-service district, providing food, flood and recreation services, along with groundwater conservation, groundwater replenishment and wholesale water for agriculture, and urban uses to the Santa Clara River Valley and Oxnard Plain. Sorry, my geography. By 2020, Naya Rivera had been visiting Lake Piru for many years and has said to have described it as a sanctuary. Her mother, Yolanda Previtira, I think that's right, said that her daughter Naya and her 4-year-old son, Josey Dorsey, were planning a barbecue by Lake Piru on the 8th of July 2020 before deciding to rent a boat when they arrived there. Naya and her son Josey left the dock at around 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time and were expected back at around 4 p.m. later that same day. However, when they did not return to the dock at the time specified, an immediate search for them began. After about an hour into the search, at around 5 p.m. that same day, the boat was found with 4-year-old Dorsey alone and asleep on the deck, wearing a life jacket. Both he and the boat were found in a zone known as the Narrows, which is an area at the north of Lake Piru that can be quite deep and windy. When the rescuers managed to help young Dorsey back onto the shore and get him checked out for any health issues, he was then taken to the Ventura County Sheriff's Office for an interview to find out or to get some clues as to what happened to his mother. The 4-year-old then proceeded to tell the investigators that he and his mother, Naya Rivera, had jumped into Lake Piru together from the hired craft that they were using and swam briefly in the water when suddenly his mother quickly told him to get back onto the boat. And also, according to young Dorsey, the hired boat then began to drift and rock violently while they were both in the water because of the strong wind, which, according to Ryan Dorsey, the 4-year-old father's lawsuit, reached up to speeds of 21 miles per hour that afternoon. I'll go into more details of Ryan Dorsey's lawsuit later in the show. Police reports state that Josey Dorsey recalled that his mother, Naya, helped him climb back onto the boat, but was unable to climb back on board himself, and then she disappeared under the water. While Ryan Dorsey, the 4-year-old father's lawsuit, claims that the young Josey Dorsey managed to climb aboard the boat unaided while his mother struggled to climb on board herself. However, both accounts do state that the young 4-year-old watched his mother reaching up and calling out for help, and that he searched for a rope on the boat to aid her while she was struggling. Young Josey Dorsey also stated that his mother was not wearing a life jacket. The Ventura County Sheriff suggested that Naya Rivera and her 4-year-old son, Josey Dorsey, more than likely found themselves caught in a rip current, which were common in the lake they were in during the afternoon, and that she probably struggled to get back onto the boat, which was found unanchored, and so may have drifted from where they entered the water. The Ventura Sheriff concluded that Naya Rivera most likely, and I quote, mustered enough energy to save her son, but not enough to save herself, noting how young Josey Dorsey described being pushed back onto the boat by his mother. On an interesting side note, a rip current, or otherwise known as just a rip, is a specific type of water current that can occur near beaches where waves break. A rip is a strong, localised and narrow current of water that moves directly away from the shore by cutting through the lines of breaking waves, like a river flowing out to sea. The force of the current in a rip is strongest and fastest next to the surface of the water, and contrary to popular belief, a rip cannot pull a person down or hold them under the water. A rip simply carries floating objects, including people, out to just beyond the zone of the breaking waves, and then dissipates and releases everything it carries. Rip currents are the leading causes of rescues by lifeguards at beaches, causing an average of 71 deaths by drowning per year as of 2022 in the United States. After young Josey Dorsey was found, a 911 call was made and a formal search and rescue operation was launched into the whereabouts of his mother, Naya. While searching the boat, an adult life jacket was found on board, along with Naya Rivera's identification. And at the parking lot by the dock, her vehicle, a black Mercedes G-Class, was located. The Ventura County Sheriff's Office suspended the search and rescue operation that evening on the 8th of July and resumed the following day. The Lake Piru itself was closed to the public, with dive teams from across the region taking part in the search. On the 9th of July, the Sheriff's Department confirmed to NBC television that Naya Rivera was presumed dead and that rescue efforts would now shift to recovery efforts. On the first day of the recovery search, efforts had also been made on land to determine if Naya Rivera had made it out of the lake alive. However, due to both the lack of evidence and 4-year-old Josey Dorsey telling the officers that he saw his mother disappear underwater, this course of inquiry was soon laid to rest. On the 10th of July, just 2 days after the search began, the number of divers involved was cut from 100 to around 40, with the Sheriff's Department explaining that visibility was so poor, it was more probable Naya Rivera would more than likely be found using a sonar device. As well as dive teams and sonar taken out on Lake Piru, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office also used sniffer dogs. On an interesting side note here, sonar is a technique that uses sound propagation, usually underwater, as in submarine navigation, to navigate, measure distances, communicate with or detect objects on or under the surface of the water, such as other vessels. The term sonar is also used for the equipment used to generate and receive sound. The acoustic frequencies used in sonar systems vary from very low, meaning infrasonic, to extremely high, meaning ultrasonic. The study of underwater sound is known as underwater acoustics or hydroacoustics. The first recorded use of the technique was in 1490 by Leonardo da Vinci, who used a tube inserted into the water to detect vessels by ear. Modern active sonar systems use an acoustic transducer to generate a sound wave which is reflected from target objects. On the 11th and 12th of July, Naya Rivera's parents, along with her stepfather, her brother Michael Rivera and ex-husband Ryan Dorsey, and close friend and fellow Glee actor Heather Morris, joined in with the search team at Lake Piru. The Sheriff's Department did dissuade any more civilians from helping out with the search simply because of the dangerous terrain. Then, at around 9:30 a.m. on the 13th of July 2020, it was announced that a body had been found floating in Lake Piru by divers. A press conference was held later that day where it was confirmed that the body was that of Naya Rivera, and the media was also informed that the body had been found just north of Diablo Cove, with the sheriff's office also stating that her body may have been trapped in underwater vegetation before finally resurfacing. Naya was officially declared dead on the 13th of July 2020, which is the date that is reflected on her death certificate. And on the 14th of July, the Ventura County Medical Examiner released an autopsy report stating that the cause of death was an accidental drowning and that there was no evidence or injury or intoxication. The autopsy report also said that Naya Rivera had small amounts of prescription medication for ADHD and anxiety in her system, as well as caffeine, and that she also had a minor reading for blood alcohol content at the time of her death. However, the autopsy also concluded that none of these factors led to intoxication or contributed to her loss of life. After this second short break, in part 3, we will look at the wrongful death lawsuit brought against Ventura County and the management of Lake Piru by Ryan Dorsey, and how Naya Rivera's fans and fellow Glee cast members reacted to her death.
Fright Nights was established in 1999 as the first company in the world to offer overnight ghost hunt experiences to the general public, pioneering paranormal events since the last century. Fright Nights operate at hundreds of the UK's most haunted and exclusive venues. All events have their own team of experienced paranormal investigators, mediums and psychics. They have a VIP members club for regular returning guests, offering loyalty discounts and exclusive invitation-only events. They can also host private events for your family and friends. You can contact them on 07 852 998 628 or email them at office@frightnights.co.uk. Or take a look at their website at www.frightnights.co.uk, where you can see the many locations they investigate and learn about them and the opportunities they have available. Hundreds of ghost hunters join Fright Nights every month for the most thrilling ghost hunting experiences they'll never forget. If you haven't been on a ghost hunt before, then why not join them to see what it's all about? Why not visit their social media sites for up-to-date information on all the places they visit and to see what's coming up in the future? They look forward to seeing you all soon. Fright Nights Ghost Hunting Events. Remember, only the original will do.
Fans of Naya Rivera posted many messages of support on social media throughout the time of her disappearance, with some expressing frustration due to the Ventura County Sheriff's Office repeatedly asking fans not to attempt to search the area themselves in the land surrounding the shore of Lake Piru, mainly because they may get into difficulty in the rural terrain and need rescuing. In the November of 2020, approximately 4 months after the event, Ryan Dorsey, who, if you remember, is the father of 4-year-old Josey, on behalf of his and Rivera's young son, including the Rivera estate, brought a wrongful death lawsuit against Ventura County and the management of Lake Piru. The lawsuit claimed that there was no signs to warn of the dangers of the lake and of swimming in the lake, and that the rental boat provided to Rivera did not meet safety standards under California law, specifically that it did not come equipped with any flotation devices, nor, and I quote,
with a safety accessible ladder, adequate rope and anchor, a radio or any security mechanisms to prevent swimmers from being separated from their boats.
The lawsuit itself was also pursuing a survivor's claim for young Josey Dorsey, with claims of negligent emotional distress, saying that, and again I quote,
Rivera may not have known that her son had made it to the boat, but she surely knew that she was dying and would not make it back to her son.
It was later reported in People magazine that in the February of 2022, the lawsuit brought on by Kevin Dorsey was eventually settled, and although the terms of the settlement were never made public, the family did state that the money awarded will be used to help raise young Josey Dorsey. Naya Rivera's death was widely covered in the media, with the English language Latino media digital company Me Too, noting that at the time of her disappearance and death, she was the 8th most searched topic on Google, writing that, and I quote,
"In a year of catastrophic losses, the tragic loss of Naya Rivera seems to have struck a major chord among all of us."
News outlets in Australasia described the drowning as the, and I quote,
"most chilling celebrity death
of the year. And on the 13th of July 2020, America's online media company, Insider Inc., published a photograph of the Glee cast members holding hands along the shore of the lake, saying it was one of the most powerful images of that year. More tributes poured in from performers, politicians, soccer players and various other celebrities from across the music, television, film and theatre genres, all expressing their love and condolences for the loss of the 33-year-old mother, daughter, sister and friend. Underneath the Lake Piru sign in the days after her death, many of her fans constructed a memorial to Naya Rivera. It is filled with pictures, posters and messages of condolence. Shortly after Naya's disappearance was reported, a petition was started by fans to have signs warning of the dangers of swimming erected at Lake Piru. The reservoir is also widely known for the actor Harrison Ford when, in 1999, he crashed his helicopter by the same lake. Also, as it turns out, over the years, several other people have drowned in the same area. Lake Piru remained closed to the public for over a month after Naya Rivera's death. It planned to reopen on the 17th of August 2020, but due to the Hulsa fire, which was part of the 2020 California wildfire season, the lake remained closed up until the 20th of August that same year. And while it reopened for fishing and boating, due to the drowning accidents and incidents, swimming at Lake Piru is now permanently prohibited.
Thank you all for taking the time out to listen to this episode of Mark's Unexplained World. In our next episode, show number 121, we are going to be looking at the Springfield Three. The Springfield Three refers to an unsolved missing persons case that began on the 7th of June in 1992, when friends Suzanne Streeter and Stacey McCull, along with Suzanne Streeter's mother, Cheryl Levitt, went missing from their home in Springfield, Missouri, in the United States. All their personal belongings, including cars and purses, were left behind, and there were no signs of a struggle other than a broken porch-like globe. There was also a message on the answering machine that police believe might have provided a clue about the girls' disappearances, but even more unfortunately, it was inadvertently erased.
This show was written and researched by myself, Mark Hughes, and proofread and edited by Linda Hughes. As usual, the pronunciations of all the names and places was all mine. The actors in this episode were Mark Hughes, Linda Hughes and Denise Poolar, with special thanks to Neil Packer and the staff at the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley. And, of course, a big thank you to everyone for listening. We never run out of ideas here at the office for Mark's Unexplained World podcast. But if you do know of any other intriguing stories under the Unexplained banner, including ufology, hauntings, disasters, and any other sort of paranormal phenomena, including true crime, unsolved crime, and missing people, just drop me a direct message and I will see what I can do. I'll also include the name of the person who suggested the idea in the end credits of the podcast. And again, just to add, if you are listening to this show on YouTube, please give us a review and a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you are listening on any other podcast platforms, again, give us a like and a follow. I thank you in advance. Mark's Unexplained World, because there's more to the paranormal than meets the third eye. And remember guys, keep it real, because being real is better than being perfect. This show and all its contents are covered by basic copyright of Mark the Medium.